Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to our show.
Welcome back to Tuesday Talks. Thank you for joining us again this week.
My name is Julia Day.
And my name is Megan Cosman, and we are both victim advocates at the North Star Advocacy Center.
So, if you guys have been keeping up with us and watching our shows, the last couple ones we've talked about just fun, weird little personality quizzes that we've both taken. So, if you remember, we did a Hogwarts one from Harry Potter, and Megan was a Ravenclaw, and I am a Hufflepuff. So this week we did a fun little personality quiz on what Disney character are you? So Megan, what Disney character are you?
Well, Julia, I took that quiz and I got Belle, and the description of Belle that the quiz gave me at the end, and it was like a 25 question quiz, so it was one of those legit ones. It says that you're smart, caring, and brave. You might be a little different than everyone else, but that's because you dream bigger. So there seems to be a consistent theme so far in my personality quizzes that I take, which are you're different, you're a little odd, you're but it's okay. That seems to kind of align with Ravenclaw, I feel like, with the Harry Potter house that I was assigned to. So I will take that.
So I got Anna from Frozen, and I think that definitely aligns with Hufflepuff because Hufflepuffs are known for being loyal to their friends and their family, and they are kind and accepting of everyone. And that, if you've seen Frozen or Frozen 2, that is definitely who Anna is. And she is just bubbly and fun and always down for a good time. And I would say that describes me as well. I am always down for a good, fun time.
You are. I always have fun with you.
Yay!
Well, this week we are going to be talking about some of our services, just reminding you guys again what they are, and particularly because we're still in quarantine, we're still amongst this whole pandemic. So we're just going to go into a little bit of detail as to what those services look like on a day to day basis and what they look like during coronavirus time.
And we're also going to talk about our name. So, if you guys have just started following our center and what we do, you might have known us as the North Star Advocacy Center. But for those of you who have been with us for the last 10 years or so, or even 20 years, you know us by another name, the Children and Family Center. So, we're going to kind of dive into why we changed our name and what our direction is.
All right, so let's begin.
First, just talking about our organization. When we first started this television series, whatever, video series, since this is through Facebook, we spend a lot of our week saying we're advocates at the North Star Advocacy Center, formerly the Children and Family Center. So, for those of you who have just started watching us and know us as North Star, we recently changed our name from the Children and Family Center to North Star Advocacy Center. And we changed our name just because the Children and Family Center of Northwest Missouri didn't necessarily fit all of the things that we do. We actually mostly work with clients who are not children, and our clients are survivors of domestic violence or sexual violence, and we usually work with anyone that could be from 18 to like in their 60s, 70s, 80s. So we really don't work with a lot of children. And when we do see children and we interact with them, and because children are part of this too, but we really are focusing on the child's parents who bring them in.
Yeah, so our title, North Star, comes from several different stories of a North Star being the focal point in the darkness. So a light in the darkness, or following the North Star because that will lead you home, or back onto a journey. And so in our case of domestic violence or sexual assault, back onto a journey of healing and recovery. And so that's why that title was chosen, is because we wanted that to be reflective of the services that we provide, and yeah, just be reflective of the services we provide.
Yeah, actually, one of our on-call staff helped us come up with the name. Margaret, she we were all just wondering, what should we name ourselves, because we wanted it to be, a name that told about our services, told people who we are, and was also something that had value and meaning and depth to it. And so Margaret came up with the name North Star, and we all loved it.
Yeah, go Margaret. Thanks, Margaret.
So the North Star Advocacy Center provides a lot of services. And if you've been watching our Tuesday Talks, you've heard us talk about a few of them in our intro. But we just wanted to spend some time really going in depth about the services. So one thing we provide is assistance with filling out an order of protection. Megan, do you want to explain a little bit about what an order of protection is?
Yeah, so an order of protection is a legal document that keeps a person who's being abusive or is stalking someone away from that person. So if a person finds themselves in that situation, again, whether they're being abused or whether they're being stalked or whether they've been sexually assaulted, they can come in to our office and receive help filing a petition for the order of protection. So whether it's me or Julia or one of our coworkers who's helping that victim fill out an order of protection, we help them with the paperwork. We don't give legal advice, so we don't tell them what to say or anything like that. But we just help them fill out the paperwork, help them put it together, and then they take it up to the circuit clerk's office or go turn it into law enforcement. And they call up the judge, and the judge decides on a court date and whether or not he's going to grant an ex parte order of protection, so a temporary one. And in that time between when it is filed and the time they go to court, I will usually call that person and prep them, just kind of go over the court process, tell them how the whole thing generally works and what to expect, and answer their questions that they might have. And then we go to court with them, so we provide the emotional support in the courtroom. And again, we're not there to act as an attorney or give legal advice, but we're there for emotional support. Because, I mean, if you think about going to court, you're going and the person who you're getting the order of protection against is going to be in the courtroom too. And sometimes that can be really scary, especially if they have abused you or if they've been stalking you or if you've been sexually assaulted by that person. So we provide emotional support in the courtroom, and we go in there with them and attend court and just help them through it and just kind of be that ally, that advocate in their corner, and is just physically there for them.
Yeah, awesome. It's a lot of work, but worth it for us to help people and for people to have some assurance in their life with this.
So right now, that service looks a little bit different, just with COVID-19 and being in the middle of a pandemic. So now, instead of just coming to the shelter, you're encouraged to call the hotline and arrange it to where an advocate can help you. So an advocate can help with an order of protection at any time. It's just not looking necessarily the same if we were in our regular office hours, not in a pandemic. So call our hotline, ask for an advocate to assist on an order of protection. It'll probably be me that calls you, and we'll set up a time, whether that's to come in and do it face to face, as long as there's not been any sickness, no fevers or anything like that, and we'll go through an assessment. Or we can do it on the phone, or we can do it on video chat. So I know that sometimes, again, when you're talking about abuse and different trauma, sometimes it's actually easier to do something face to face, and we definitely get that. And especially during this time where that's a little bit hard to do, we are trying to make accommodations for that. So we can always do it by video as well. And I can walk you through how to do that if I were to call you on the phone. So a couple different options. Going to court, that still works the same. But just as far as like getting the paperwork done, that's what it looks like right now.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah. So one of our other services that we're offering right now that also looks a little bit different since we're in the pandemic are support groups. And so we have a WING support group, and that's the one that we've always had. That stands for Women in Need Gaining Support. And then we have a sexual assault support group, which is called SOSA, and it's an acronym that stands for Survivors of Sexual Assault. And so those are the two support groups that have remained consistent, and we've done that over Zoom during this entire time of the pandemic. And so SOSA looks like that, where I'll send out the email inviting the users who want that support group to come, and we do it at the same time. But Julia, do you want to talk about the support group, the WING support group?
Yeah. So I facilitate the wing support group, and I usually get different people to come in and lead that support group. Usually it can be some interns or volunteers or other advocates like myself or Abby. Or we have counselors that we contract out with, and they will lead support group as well. During COVID, we have been doing it online through video chat over Zoom. And while that it's challenging because I mean we're not face to face, and so we're not able to, maybe share as freely as we'd want, or things are just kind of awkward because it is face to face. I have seen a huge benefit of having wings still continually through this process, because it does give a place for people to share their minds, to share their thoughts, to know that they're not alone, and to share what they're going through. So Wings is primarily for our clients who've been through domestic violence. And this summer, actually, once we are back in our office opening and people are able to come back in again freely, we are going to be starting kind of a series with Wings where we're going to really focus on identity this summer. And so that might kind of sound strange, but identity is really kind of the root of, I mean, our lives. And so who you identify with or who you identify as yourself is really how you drive the rest of your life, like your career, your choices. And so, with domestic violence in particular, just thinking about our identity is shaped by experiences that have happened in our lives. And so, those experiences could be things that we've done or things that people have done to us or have said to us. And so, with domestic violence, someone's identity can be warped. It's like looking in a mirror, like a funny circus mirror, where you're not seeing the actual reality, but you're seeing this manipulated version of yourself, which was created through domestic violence situation, whether or not the partner had said things like derogatory about your physical appearance or your mental abilities, or even just being in a domestic violence relationship. A lot of people can leave that with feelings of I'm worthless or I'm not good enough. No one is ever going to love me. I've been treated this way because that's who I am. That's how I was treated when I was younger, and this is how I'm going to be treated my whole life because I'm not valuable. And so all of those core kind of thoughts that people have are core lies. We might feel them, but not really focus on these thoughts. We just feel it, and that shows with our actions and how we carry ourselves and how we see ourselves. And so going through this identity, just kind of section this summer, we're really going to try and uproot those lies of when, whether or not someone was just out of an abusive relationship or the abuse occurred 20, 40 years ago. There are some probably deep lies that have been built, or the foundation that's been laid. So we're really going to try and focus on that this summer, as with our leaders and the counselors that we contract out with will kind of be focusing on that topic. And so for a short while, I started a evening group called SODA, and so it was Survivors of Domestic Abuse, and those were the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. at our shelter. So during COVID, I've canceled that because now that everyone's plans have been canceled, because of this outbreak, it didn't make sense to have two different domestic violence support groups if it's all just going to be online. And so maybe once we get back to kind of our regular lives and working at the shelter and it being open, we're going to start that up again. But for right now, it has not been open. But if you are a survivor of domestic violence and you would like to join a support group, please contact us, whether it is Facebook or call the hotline, and we can set you up with the link to get you involved in this.
a lot of people think that our hotline is just there for crisis response. So whether they're wanting to come into shelter or there's some kind of big emergency. And while that's true in the respect that it is used for those things, it can also be utilized for just when someone needs to talk. And again, especially right now while we're in a pandemic, and I know that a lot of our clients are feeling lonely, or they just feel trapped, or they just, they're just going through lots and lots of different things. And while the world is just with this virus, there's really not necessarily a clear end in sight with that. Sometimes that's just very sad for people to think about. And I know that there's been statistics out there where domestic violence calls have gone up and everything, and hotline calls have gone down just because of safety concerns and issues. But I encourage you, if just talking to somebody is what you need, then please call our hotline, because that is available 24/7. So there is a trained volunteer or a staff person that will answer that phone no matter what time it is. So I don't care if it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. If you need to talk, please call and utilize that. That's exactly what it's there for. And you're going to get someone that meets you with compassion and that cares about you. So please call it. Don't feel like you have to be in an emergency. Don't feel like, oh, if I call, then I have to come to shelter. It's not just for that. It is for people who just, that are feeling down. So.
Well said, Megan. So I think that kind of wraps it up with our services. Am I missing any?
We expanded on the ones that we really are doing right now during the pandemic. So of course, there's always like the case management, crisis intervention. We typically have hospital advocacy, and I have been in communication with Natalie, who was on a few episodes back, about what that looks like. So you're definitely going to get advocacy help. If there's a sexual assault, it's just not going to be in person for now. But we're trying to find ways to still make that happen. So trying to meet the victim as best as we can with that. And so other services would be shelter and our volunteer program. So I don't know if you want to talk about that and what the internship program looks like.
Yes. So another job that I do within North Star is volunteer coordinator. So with that, our services, everything that we just talked about could not be done without the help of our trained volunteers. So our volunteers, they do have to go through, at least to start off with, 2 hour training, so 4 hours total to start with. And that is a domestic violence 101 and sexual violence 101, and then the hotline coverage and shelter overnight coverage trainings. And so Megan and I lead those trainings, and it's really awesome just to see our volunteers and to hear the questions that they have, and also see our volunteers just honestly get involved in our family here at North Star, because we truly are a family. And I say this all the time, that we are run off of donations and volunteers. Without our volunteers, we cannot run. But so with our volunteer program, our volunteers do a wide variety of things. They cover shelter during the evenings or during the day, if we are not at work, or during the weekends. Because if we do have a client in shelter, we need someone, a staff member trained to be there 24/7 in case a problem were to arise, for safety and for advocacy and just emotional support. Or if we do not have a client in shelter, then we need the hotline 24 hours to be covered. And so our volunteers will do that. Some will help with moving, because when we get our clients, and if our clients do need shelter, we're only a temporary shelter. And so our goal is to move clients to, permanent, better place, whether that's an apartment, different housing structure, whatever. And then we set them up with the wonderful donations that we get from our community. So those are beds, mattresses, toasters, brooms, everything that you need to start a living, to start over somewhere, our clients need. And so those donations that we get from the community, we all have to move as well. And so our volunteers help us move those things. We've had the Northwest football boys help us, and the basketball guys come help us, and that really helps us out having a lot of people move things. We moved them. Janine Montgomery, she actually co-hosted last week when I took a break, and she is the donations coordinator, and so she's the one who facilitates all of that, and orchestrates volunteers with moving. So another thing that volunteers can do are they lead support group. They can come in throughout the day to help clean, or they can accompany Megan or one of us to court and help with court advocacy to be another person there. And with the interns, they do all of that, but with a more concentrated view on advocacy and case management. So we take the interns with us wherever we go, as much as they can handle, as much as they can do. So interns can go with us even if it's at 2 in the morning and we need to meet a client at the police station or at our shelter to do, an order of protection or something like that. Whatever they can handle or are available for, their schedules allow them to. We take them with us just so they can shadow, they can experience that, and they can understand what advocacy means, especially in a small shelter where our dynamics are incredibly different from larger shelters. We can do things differently, and we have the capacity to do things that other shelters can't do. And so we really want our interns to be in on that process. And then they also get to spend, a day with every staff member. So that is with Linda, our director. She's not an advocate, but she's the director and deals with the grant, all that nonprofit information that is very valuable, especially to the human service majors who are wanting to work for nonprofits. So they get to get that information, hang out with Janine and help her move and do all the client donation sorting, go with Megan to court, and through sexual assault advocacy support groups, and with Abby and I and the rest of the advocates as we do case management and client support. And then I also have my interns sit in on me as I do timesheets and log in all that hours for our grant and information. So it's quite an extensive program, but it's fun. We love our interns. They are part of our family, and it's so fun to really get to connect with them, to see their heart and to see their vision just expanded by the end of their semester with us.
Well, that about wraps it up, and that's about all the time we have for today. But thank you all for joining us today. And if you have any questions about what we talked about today or any of our services, whether it's what they look like on a day-to-day basis or what they look like during the pandemic, please leave your questions below in the comment section or give us a call at our hotline 660-562-2320.
See you guys next week.
All right, see you next week.